very easy when you're in this like world to see just goals, and like once I achieve that next thing, I will feel fulfilled or satisfied. And I think what I've realized that it's like when I felt most satisfied this year, I mean, sure, like doing stuff makes me feel good, but it's also just like the fact that I went to dinner with a bunch of people that I like, that I met through comedy, like, and they're like, we're just like friends, and like I know who they are and things like that, and I'm like, yeah, it's feeling like belongingness and like feeling like you're part of something almost is like more important at the end of the day.
Welcome to another episode of the Asian Not Asian podcast, the podcast featuring all of your favorite Asian friends, including the friends that you probably know in real life. We're more favorited than them.
That's what I always say.
Yeah, sorry, Charlotte and Brian and I don't know, Kevin. You know, we're the real Asian friends you have, right, Jenny?
Yeah. Kevin I was like, those are really specific names until you got to Kevin. I was like, that's correct. Kevin is correct.
I met a Kevin the other day, and he, I doubt he listens to the show. I met him at the Feeling Asian party, and he was so Vietnamese Kevin that I was like, is your Civic Si outside right now? It was like amazing. It was beautiful. But yeah, no, great. Thank you for joining us. Thanks for hanging out. This is the last episode of this season. Then we're going to take a little break, and then we're going to come back for more with season 3. And, we're going to make some tweaks. It'll generally be the same show, but there's some tweaks. And we've started doing some of these things already, so maybe you've noticed. Maybe you haven't. I don't care. But what I do care about is that you're here. Also, this is a remote show because Jenny is in the Bay Area.
I'm back in the Bay, baby. I'm home, bitch.
Hey. You're out there.
I'm out here in South San Francisco.
Is that where you are? South San Francisco?
I am currently in South San Francisco, yes.
Wow. Real ones know that's the real San Francisco. South San Francisco.
That's what they're always saying. This industrial city. I forgot. There's like a sign on the hill with like letters, but I forgot what it is. And I started talking and I was like, don't remember what the letters say.
I love South San Francisco because when you fly into SFO, you get out and you're like in South San Francisco kind of already. And then there's like an In-N-Out there. And I always go to that In-N-Out immediately.
Oh, nice. It's in Millbrae, actually. I believe you're talking about Millbrae. Yeah.
Fuck, I'm not a real one. See?
Yeah, you're not a real one. I mean, I'm the real one. I know all the BART stops. This is really for these are like really specific references of the Bay Area.
Specific public transit. That's the corner of comedy we're gonna isolate is public transit. But no, thank you for joining the podcast. Very quickly, our stand-up show is next year. It sounds like it's far away, but it's really not. It's going to be January 13th. That's at Union Hall in Brooklyn. Also, I think this episode will come out just in time for if you want to check out Fumi's show. He's in New York City. Also, he's got a show called Fumi Abe and Friends. It's December 30th at Union Hall. The tickets are going to be in link description in the episode. In the link. In the episode description, so you can check that out, or go to asiannotasianpod.com. Plenty of chances to come hang out and chill with us. And if you also want to chill with us, but with your money, you can do that with Patreon. So go to patreon.com /asiannotasianpod. We love getting money, but also just having the support. You can join our little community. We got a little Facebook group. We slide into your DMs. It's just a good time. And one of the things we do is we also shout you out on the podcast, and one of the patrons we got today or this week, we're gonna guess his ethnicity, and we're gonna just maybe talk about his life a little bit.
Yeah.
This is our Patreon subscriber this week is Abraham.
That's it.
Yes, but here's the thing. Here's the thing is that, well, first of all, I know who this person is, so I kind of have to recuse myself. Yes. I don't know this person personally, but
but you know who this is.
He and I have a relationship on Instagram. So I will tell you about that, but I want you to, Abraham, and I will give you a clue that the Patreon donation was in euros.
Euros.
It is in euros.
Oh my God, we've gotten international. I know we made a joke about this before. They can send money in any form.
Yeah, people have sent us Canadian dollars, which is worthless. And then people have sent us kronar, I think. It's like a Dutch thing. And then now we got some euros.
The way that you've started this episode immediately offending our guest is actually kind of gorgeous.
Hang tight, guest. We'll bring you on.
I was going to tell you, I was going to put in effort in this interview, but now I don't know.
It's over.
It's okay. We can't pay you anyway. So,
okay, let's see. Okay, Abraham, euros. Okay, this is Abraham. Just one name makes it really hard. I will say Abraham is a cool ass name. Very like old school. Okay, he lives in Berlin. He wears all leather. He loves going to. His hair is like really short, like buzz cut, but it's blonde. Like it's a buzz cut blonde, and he wears like a lot of leather, and he like goes to like when he was younger, he used to go to like those raves.
Maybe.
But he's like outgrown them, and he's honestly, it's like basic now. Like everyone comes to Berlin to do that, and so instead he like has kind of switched to the art scene and kind of is in galleries a lot. And he got into Bitcoin at the beginning, and now it's like basic. He's like, I'm over it. It's a fraud.
Mid.
That's Abraham.
As they say,
it's mid. It's mid.
Yeah, I think you are right. I think in none of those things, because I know who this person is. You're almost wrong in every single aspect. But thank you very much, Abraham, for doing that. I will say he slides into my DMs. He's always sending me like crazy engineering reels. Like,
are you asking for that, or is that what your relationship is based
He's just like, check this out. This is so cool. And then he like goes on this really well-informed, long kind of like I don't know, speech, I guess.
Yeah.
About like connecting economics to politics to engineering, and he's a very smart person. And I don't know why he wastes his time talking to me, but appreciate it. I always learn whenever he DMs me, and I also appreciate the money. And if you want to get in on this, again, go to patreon.com/AsianNotAsianPod. Okay, let's bring on our guest. She's been chilling here. Our guest is a comedian, writer. She toured all over America, Canada, the world, really. Okay, most recently with Ronnie Chang. And she's currently on tour. You can catch her coming to America and all sorts of dates, and we'll talk about that. Give it right now for Julie Kim.
Woo!
Hi, guys. So nice to see you. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on. Very quickly, you're touring right now, right? Are you on tour? Or you're about to tour?
Well, it's funny. Yeah. What's a tour, really? I've heard people go away to like one or two towns next door and say, I'm going on tour. Yeah. I have regularly been going outside of my own city to other cities to perform. So, yeah, I'm on tour perpetually.
That's perfect. I count going to New Jersey as touring. So.
Oh my God, that's the farthest tour you could go.
So
weirdly,
far away.
Going to like Chicago is actually closer than going to Jersey.
This is actually culturally, yes.
Yeah, emotionally and culturally, yes.
Yeah. Well, thanks for coming on. You're calling in from like a space station or something like that. Yeah.
I am I'm in outer space right now.
Yeah.
I've tied myself to the chair so I don't go flying everywhere because of physics. But I'm trying to keep it together. Lots of hairspray.
I feel you were telling us before we started that you're recording in like a common space that you can reserve like in your condo. And I'm imagining it from your neighbor's point of view that like, somebody's using the common space for podcasting again. Dang. I want to barbecue.
Absolutely.
I don't know even if half the people here know what podcasting is. I have this habit of living in areas that are as nice as I can possibly live in for security. I lived by myself for a long time, and as a woman, you're safest in areas where there are older white people. So that's where I am, and a lot of them are not technology proficient, and so I'm not sure that's their assumption. Yeah.
Yeah. We're happy you're on. We usually start off the podcast with asking what kind of Asian were you this week. You can think about it for a little bit, Julie, but we'll come to you. I want to start with Jenny. Jenny, what kind of Asian were you this week?
All right, so I had a huge week. Not really. I would say I was a cool coat Asian.
Cool coat Asian.
Coat Asian.
Yeah, we had been talking about this. You were talking about what kind of overcoat you wanted.
I did bring this up last week, didn't I, to you, Mike? Well, I think Mike's rubbing off on me. So, like, Mike's, like, winter fits are so good. Like, he layers and he will wear, like, a cool, like, kind of, like, blazer thing and then wear it under a puffy coat. Like, the idea of layering is really shocking to me because I don't understand how to do it. And I only have this one ugly black puffer I bought in 2018 when I first moved to New York because I'm from California. I like don't know what winter dress is like. And so and this winter in New York has been, in my opinion, pretty cold. Like, it's just been worse than other winters I've been here. And so the black puffer came out so much earlier than it usually does. And I've been so sad wearing it every day. I'm so sick of this coat already. And it's only mid-December and we have so many more months to go. And I see Mike a lot and I like every time I'm like, what the hell? Like, he looks so cool and somehow wearing something different every time. And I'm like, I just like think I got inspired by that where I was like, I would like to look nice even if it's cold and not be sad. And so I think last week at a party we're leaving and I started asking you questions about coats. I was like really thinking about it and I'm a shopper who like really mulls about like investments for like weeks and weeks until I buy something.
Yes.
And so I have been thinking about a coat for a while, but it went like hard after I had that conversation with you, Mike. It was like I was on like online just like looking at like Pinterest coats, like what coat should I get? And coats are expensive. I wanted like a nice wool coat. And I was like, I don't know. I feel kind of bad I feel bad spending a lot of money. And so I was really thinking about it and I found some on sale and I was like, whatever. Like, I don't know if I should do it. And then all of a sudden in my inbox, I was sent a $500 gift card for a project I have not completed yet. So I will not discuss, but it was just like an extra, like, thank you kind of like thing.
Thanks for doing this.
And that was like about the amount of money that I was looking at for a coat. And so I literally was like, I think this is a sign that like I'm supposed to get this coat. And so within 12 hours of receiving the gift card, not 12, 4 hours of receiving the gift card, I spent it in its entirety on a coat.
Before they could cancel it? They're like, we sent this on accident.
Yeah, before they noticed that I haven't done any work for them, I spent it. And so I bought like a really nice, and I fled to San Francisco. So I spent it and I bought a nice coat and I immediately wore it out the next day and I love it. I mean, it's been rainy in New York. When the last day I was there was rainy, so I couldn't wear it to all the other things I did. But I wore it. I put it on my Instagram close friends list. Mike responded.
Boom.
We had a discussion. But yeah, so now I have a nice coat, like a nice wool coat, and I feel less depressed because winter is already kicking me to the ground. So I was like, this is something I need emotionally.
I just want to know, I'm trying to picture Jenny, who I've just met, in a wool coat, and I'm picturing you in something like a beige tan or a gray.
Yeah.
What did you get?
It's like a brown, dark gray, like herringbone coat.
Oh.
Yeah.
Classy.
Yeah, it's classy.
Yeah.
And I feel the look right now is like wearing a coat, but kind of being casual about it, you know?
Yeah. Like whatever.
You got a baseball cap on. You got wide
true.
jeans on. You got your New Balances on, and you don't even really care. And that's kind of the energy I'm trying to bring.
What's that, winter?
I thought,
whatever.
Winter? Okay, I'm unfazed.
Okay, winter. Whatever,
yeah.
you know?
I'm going to go play baseball, maybe. Like, that's like the vibe. Yeah.
I feel that this is the difference between East Coast, West Coast Asians. Okay. This is a very hot topic.
It's
Julie,
a hot
I don't know
topic.
if in Canada they talk about Saskatchewan Asians versus
I don't think there are any.
Manitoba Asians, but East Coast, West Coast Asians. This is a difference. Is that there's a preoccupation with outerwear in the East. Every winter.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think, dang, it's about time I got a better coat, right?
Yeah.
And every, I think, Asian, cold Asian, we have at least two. Well, you have to think about. One is like pretty, a pretty stylish coat, wool. It's going to look good with, with your casual baseball going to the bar fit.
Uh-huh.
And then the other one is fuck everything. It's a blizzard outside.
Yeah, functional
one, right? Which is
Totally.
ugly. It will destroy your look, but you won't freeze to death.
100%.
I get this because I was born in the East Coast. So I started off as an East Coast Asian. Only in the last 10 years have been a West Coast Asian. I moved from Toronto to Vancouver, which are the two of the top, I don't want to piss anyone off if you have Canadian listeners, but two of the top Canadian cities. So I have a lot to say about this, but I'll wait for my turn when it comes to how Asian I was this week. I have so much to say.
Perfect.
Okay.
Perfect.
Okay. We'll keep it going then. We'll keep moving.
Well, that was me. Mike, what kind of Asian were you this week?
I was a hanging out with Asian. Okay.
Okay. Let's get into it.
This is related to what you were talking about. I went to, it's holiday time. So people are having parties. You're trying to meet up with people to have drinks. Some people have their birthdays and they're making it kind of like a combo thing. So we had a mutual friend, Jess Tom, who was on the podcast recently, and they had their birthday, and they live really close to me.
Yeah, they're like on your street.
Yeah, on my street. Like the Uber driver, I got in the car and I was like, just drive straight. And he took me there. And it was great. I don't feel bad at all about taking the Uber 3 blocks. I was like, this is the most Los Angeles move I've ever done. But I wanted to get there quickly, and it was really cold. So I was like, I want to get there quickly.
Yeah, it was cold.
So I went there, and I know some people. I know obviously Jess and Jenny. I know you and some other folks. But you and I were talking a lot. And the coolest thing was I went there obviously to celebrate Jess's birthday. They were so nice, and everybody was very nice. It was a fun time. I will say it was very young. A lot of people sitting on the ground. That's not my kind of party. Okay, if people are sitting on the ground, hey, that's cool. You guys are what?
Right.
You guys playing King's Cup? That's sick. I'm gonna find like a stool to sit on, okay, or something, because I cannot do that. I don't have that kind of hip flexibility anymore. So,
is it the sitting or the getting back up that's the problem?
Oh man, I can get up pretty good. I do jujitsu.
Oh.
Okay, that's right. I snuck it in there, Jenny.
No.
Yes. So actually, I am very comfortable on the ground, but then I get too comfortable. I start lying down. I'm like, someone get on top of me and let's spar. So
Yes.
but everybody was real nice. And then Jess, who I think was hey, having a good time, a little tipsy. They come up to me and they're like, Mike, I normally don't do this because you're a straight man.
That's right.
And then they proceed to just shower me with compliments for like 2 minutes of just
it was.
your looks are so good. You do all these things. I did have a fire scarf on underneath my blazer, which was like, man, let me tell you, if you're a straight guy and you can pull off the casual scarf, not just the functional scarf,
Right.
that's next level, okay? And I've recently been trying to do that. So Jess was giving me all these things and saying all these really nice things. Not saying anything about how funny I am. That's not even relevant. No, not at all. Not at all.
It was like us standing in a circle, just like yelling at Mike that he has good style. And it was like, we're deep into the night enough that we can say this in an honest way where we're like, we think you dress well, and I know it's like embarrassing because you're a straight man and you shouldn't be dressing this well, and like we're yelling at you.
Yes.
And you look so happy. You look so happy.
Well, because you guys also look cool, and I'm obsessed with it. I used to think it was kind of embarrassing that I'm so obsessed with it, but now I'm just like, this is who I am.
Yeah.
When they bury me in the ground, I better look dope. That's all I can say. I want my skeleton to be fire. I want an archaeologist to dig me up and be like, I can't believe the skeleton's pulling off this scarf. I'm like, yes, thank you very much. It's like I always have like an insecurity that I've gone too far and I look like Willy Wonka, or I look like Justin Timberlake 2008. That's always a danger, right? If you're into clothes, there's a danger that you're going to end up on some hilarious, like, they don't have blogs anymore, but like, a fake Instagram thing where they're making fun of people who dress a certain way. So I'm like, I'm always worried about that, but I don't know. It was cool to hear. So that was me hanging out with Asians. That was me.
I love it. I mean, I've been hanging out with so many Asians, Mike. Like, it's been,
you have.
I mean, I'll talk about this later, I think, but I've really feel like I'm in it now. Like in it with the Asian comedians.
You are in it.
Freaking rules. I love it.
Freaking rules.
Freaking rules. I love everybody. It's just really nice to be in this community. I have nothing else to add specific. I just think it's so fun. And I'm glad that we got to shower you with compliments. And it just took us to it just took a little bit of weed and a little bit of time for us to get there.
I will say it is very hard to compliment a straight guy. Okay, we usually don't deserve it. So once in a while, when it's undeniable, then that's how we are.
When it's happening, it just must feel so good. So I'm glad we got there.
I'm glad you got to enjoy it in case it never happens again because you're a straight guy.
Yeah,
it sounds like people really needed to work up to it.
They were. They had to justify it to themselves in their mind. But Julie, I want to know, what kind of Asian were you this week?
Yeah, since you asked me the question a few minutes ago, I've actually jotted down some notes. I have it structured into a few categories. Okay.
Wow.
Firstly, I'll start tying it back to what you said about clothing. First of all, Mike, I didn't know you wore so many layers. I thought he was muscular. I didn't know it was all underlayer, but good to know. I was the kind of Asian who returns things this week. I just returned a lot of things because I'm going out of town for Christmas and I'm like, I'm kind of unorganized. I'm like, the window to return some of these is going to close. I'm just going to do it all. So it was like a whole half day thing to return things because I want my money back. But also I had so many things to return because I buy impulsively. So in that way, I'm a very different Asian than what Jenny described. And I think it actually has its roots in my childhood when I was also Asian. My dad would always say no to everything. They didn't have money. I called it being cheap, but seriously, they didn't have money. So I heard no all the time to the point that when I got any power to get my own money or even in early days shoplift or something like that, I wanted all the stuff. Do you know what I mean? And I think it still is part emotional for me. And part of it is like, if I want it, I deserve it or I'm going to get it, because that pain of the ambiguity of like maybe no or whatever is it's too much for me. And I feel power when I just execute. I also hate, I'm not on the fence about much. I'm very decisive. And also return policies are so good that it makes it easy to feed this gross habit that I have of over consuming, because I know I can send, all of it back without wearing. I'm not at the phase anymore where I'm like, I'm just going to wear it and keep the tags on, return it. I don't do that. But yes, I spent a lot of time returning things. I want to touch on the East Coast, West Coast thing. So again, I was born and raised in Toronto, and then I lived there like pretty much all of my life until 10 years ago when I moved to the West Coast. So in the East Coast, I remember a new winter coat being a thing you did, like back to school. And I would always get something for sure. It was just, and I had to, because, in the West Coast, when you wear a coat, you can wear it some days or not all the time. So it's not something people see on you all the time. But when you're on the East Coast, you wear it every day. So of course you don't want to wear the same coat every day that you wore last winter every day. So I totally get it. But now as a West Coast person and Asian, I don't even think about winter coats. It doesn't even get that cold. My husband and I have Canada Goose coats we bought 7 years ago, and they go in storage. We only bring them out if we're going to the East Coast. So there are Toronto jackets, and we dry clean them like every other year, which is exorbitant too. So I don't really think about it. But when I purchase, it's a lot of that sort of mid-layer, like, what kind of flannel full length thing am I going to get? But you know what I did buy? because being a West Coast Asian now has made me extra sensitive to cold. So when I go back to Toronto, it affects me so much. Whereas before I was used to it. I was like, oh, skin is supposed to be flaking off of my knuckles, right? So anticipating this, I recently learned about heated vests, and I have one.
Wait.
A heated vest.
A heated vest? Like, there's like a battery or something?
There's technology?
There's a battery pack. There's a battery pack. And they're not sponsoring me, so I'll just send you the link privately. That a battery pack that you can put in the vest, and it powers the vest. You like turn it on and it like glows red. It's super ugly. So I wear it underneath stuff. So people think I'm muscular like Mike, but dual purpose as it's charging your vest, or even instead you can be charging your phone. Like, so it's like extra battery security. So you don't have battery insecurity.
Oh my God, Julie, you're like a battery pack. You're like a human battery pack.
You're like a cyborg. You're more machine than human at this point.
Human, yeah.
And I'm in outer space. So, yeah. But guys, that's only the first part of my answer of what kind of Asian I was. Second part has to do with food. So one of the highlights of my week was going to this place in Vancouver called Royal Soul House, and they have Korean barbecue, but the kind where like you take your shoes off and you go into a booth and you cook. And we like ate all our favorites because the friend I went with was Korean. Like me, she's got a white husband who's now converted, like, and eats all this like food, the spicy food, and our kids. We just had a lot of fun. That meal was ridiculous. Like, we overdid it. We overstuffed ourselves, which we always do. So I did that. I also, as like I'm a food nurturer, and that definitely comes from my mom. I cut a lot of fruit for my family this week. We're traveling actually tomorrow. I'm already anticipating stealing extra food from the lounge, which is in tribute to how my parents are. We go to a restaurant, we take everything home. Eat as much as you can at the buffet and stuff like that. Anyways, and the last thing is, I guess I just worked a lot. I work a lot. I don't enjoy downtime or like doing nothing. I increasingly know that it's good for you and to be a whole person and all that kind of stuff, but I don't fully subscribe to it, or I haven't fully come over to that side. So I worked a lot on a lot of things, a lot of comedy. I did like 12 shows last week in Vancouver.
Oh my God.
And then I also listened to a few episodes of the Asian Not Asian podcast, which I really enjoyed.
I heard it's okay.
I heard it's okay. I'm glad that we're also categorized in the work category.
Yeah.
I relate to everything you said except working hard. I think that's pretty cool.
I love downtime.
Yeah, me too. I work hard too. It's unfortunate, but here's the thing: I don't want to work hard. Okay, we'll get into it later.
Hey, that's cool.
I think the code thing, that's a thing. You know, I never thought about it when I was in California at all, or even returning stuff. I wanted to. You said something about shopping. This is for me. I feel very guilty with shopping. I always feel if I buy something. There's two things. There's two emotions I have. Either one is immediately, one day I will die and this will mean nothing. That's the first one. The second one is I shouldn't be spending so much money on myself. I should buy other people's things. So when I buy something pretty big for myself, I try to also buy something for my wife. So it's like double pay, you know what I'm saying? But then I feel like less bad because I'm like, well, remember I got you like this like cool shirt from Ghani, blah, 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 you know?
Yeah.
And so that's like, it's a weird like, emotional thing that I go through that where I feel guilt and like I don't not necessarily I don't deserve it, but just more like I shouldn't be spending money on this. I should be, I don't even know, playing the stock market. I don't know what people do with money.
I 100%. I also, the reason why I research so much is because I feel guilt. And so I feel like if I can really justify an expensive purchase, then I'm allowed to like do that, right? But it takes so long for me to convince myself I deserve it. And then number two, I'm simply too lazy to do returns and exchanges.
Same.
So I need to know that it's going to work out.
Yes.
Because I will go to the store and try it on and all of that stuff to avoid dealing with returns and exchanges because I'm so lazy.
Or Julie.
No, that's probably better. You're doing it the better way, I'm sure.
Another thing, Julie, just so you can, I think you might enjoy it couching shopping this way. The reason why I don't immediately buy something is because I enjoy the act of looking at it on my phone, maybe trying it on but not buying it, and then looking at it again, maybe seeing where else it is, seeing other photos. It's like it's like
you
edging.
must get so many ads.
I love the ads.
It's true.
I like the ads. The ad comes up and I click the ad. It's for me. It's like, when you edge, like edging during sex. So it's like, oh, just hold it off. Just hold it off, baby.
Yeah.
Ooh, oh, girl, just slow down. Slow it down. That's
okay. I was
Really?
gonna say
I've lost Julie.
pining.
Okay.
I was gonna say
I
pining
love
for
it.
something in like a romantic way, and then you
No,
went
no.
sexual, and I was
Yes.
like, and this kind of is really the difference between us.
Yes, it really is.
Well, that all sounds nice until the scenario ends with them running out of your size.
Yeah.
Which happens.
True.
Gosh, that's real talk right there.
It's happened. I've been burned.
Yeah, I can see that happening for myself as well. Well,
Unless you're an irregular size. If you're an XL, you're fine. If you're a extra small, you're fine. But if you're like a small or a medium, at least in women's,
forget it.
by the time if it ever goes on sale, it's not there.
Right. Yeah. No,
Usually.
it's the same for me. I'm a middle boy. That's me. We wanted to use this. This is again the last episode of this season. We'll be back, but this is the last episode of this season. And I think we wanted to do a little review, right?
Well, yeah, this is a pitch from me, which
Okay.
if you know me personally and I've seen you in the last 2 weeks, I've made you do this. But one of my favorite things to do around a birthday or around New Year's is to review the last year. And I mean review like both actually like things that happened, but also kind of more from an emotional standpoint, your experience of the year. And I've been making everyone kind of grade it.
Gosh.
Give it a grade.
Such a project manager,
I am. I really
have to
am a
go through the
project manager.
360 performance review.
Yes.
Talk to your manager.
And-
Talk to your associates.
Yeah, exactly. And then we just from that, like, what do we want in 2023? Like, what do we want our 2023 to look like? So I think we start by reviewing, each of us reviewing our years, and then just kind of using that to inform what we want more of in the next year or less of in the next year. Does that? I can go first too to set the tone.
Okay.
If that would be
set
good.
the tone. Set the
Okay.
tone. And yeah.
And to everyone listening, I'm sorry if this is exhausting, but this is who I am, and you should know that by now.
And also, everybody, please check your emails and then log
Yeah.
on to HR Manager.
Yeah,
and we're going to be
exactly.
needing your self-evaluations
By
at the end.
EOW next week.
EOW. You just triggered me, dude.
I know.
Those 3 letters. Oh God.
Okay, so let me just cover my 2022 because I think in a lot of ways I'm always disappointed in the fact that I didn't do enough, but I always feel that way. Like I think that's just me being very critical about myself. But I think this year was actually a pretty big year. I'm here. I wasn't doing this podcast last year. Now I'm here.
Yep.
And I would say that this podcast was the first time in my life where I had to consistently show up earnestly as myself. So I'm not a stand-up comedian, so I don't have to ever talk as me.
Yet.
Yeah,
Okay, go
yeah.
ahead.
Some people are trying to push me. But because I'm like an improviser / sketch writer, whenever I was like in any public forum, I'm like usually in character or like doing something else. Like I don't have to talk about me. And this is the first time like week to week I have to just like legitimately show up and be like, hi, it's me and this is my week. And I think at first that was a part that I was like not so sure about because I'm like, I don't know if I care to be honest with people regularly. And to be honest, I was a little uncomfortable with it. But I think now I've gone to the point where I'm like, yeah, I'll be pretty open pretty regularly about my emotional state. And so that was a really big thing for me this year to like just be myself in public. And through this podcast, I've just met so many cool people who are Asian. Which I was meeting before, but I was like mostly meeting like very specific types, like improvisers, things like that. And I'm like now meeting so many other people, and they know who I am, and that's so cool. So this podcast has been kind of a huge thing for me. I also had to host a stand-up show, even though I don't do stand-up regularly, which I think is so confusing to everyone. The number of offers I've gotten, and I'm like, I actually don't have any stand-up material. They're like, what? It's really confusing.
Neither do I, and I've been doing this for like 10 years, so. Yeah.
So yeah, that's been really big. I feel like I've really like made friends in New York. At the end of every year I say that, but I really feel that this year. The past 2 weeks have been booked and blessed for me socially, just because I like have been building out a community of people in New York, and that has been awesome and made me feel so much more like welcomed and loved and like belongingness. I started a full-time job again. I have a regular steady paycheck and healthcare, and that's nice. I don't love working 9 to 5, but it's nice to be having stability.
Yeah.
I guess I dated. It wasn't successful, but I sure tried.
Well, we're hoping to get more dating in 2023 for you, because we need the content.
I know.
Need the content.
I know. Mike loves Dating Corner.
Put me in.
Okay.
Maybe next year? Next year?
He just came in his pants.
I finally bought a vest I was looking at, I was like, no, I
bet they're nice pants, though.
They're nice pants. I'm going to, maybe I should be in charge of your dating app for a week. Give me control of the
Okay,
app.
that's so scary to me. I would. I have no concerns doing that. I'm not really on them right now, to be honest, but I will reactivate them and let you have control. You can even write what it says on it. I really well. You won't do anything weird, right? Like ruin my like professional chances.
No. This is not one of those things where it's like, because I want this to be fruitful, because the more dates you go on, the better it is for you. I mean,
you do love hearing my stories.
I know fans love hearing about it. I'm thinking about the fans.
No, you're not. You're thinking about
your mentality, dude. You see this mentality?
I have a question. Yes. Jenny, have we shared with the listeners and watchers what it is generally that you're looking for?
I don't know. I feel like I've definitely talked about it. So, and this is something I'm working through in therapy. I think that I tend to go towards people who are funny and to me like easy and nice to talk to. So I love like a nice, funny person. But obviously what tends to happen from that is that I go towards people who maybe aren't as emotionally available but are fun to talk to. Or maybe are not able to be as inward looking and thinking like about themselves in a deeper way other than like funny.
I wonder, and because sometimes you'll be like, I met this great person at the party. They're like so outgoing and funny. It's like, oh no, that was cocaine, right? And so, but I think that a similar thing one level down is meeting someone kind of like that, not on cocaine, but you're meeting their exterior personality, which sometimes shines so much because they purposely put it on, like either for self-defense or whatever, to compensate for this lack of like true like assuredness of who they are.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%.
So
and I think
that's hard. Yeah.
There are a lot of comedy people like this who are very nice and fun to talk to. And then you realize that there is like a lack of maybe dealing with things underneath the surface that are actually more important from a human level, like just as an adult, like things you should be thinking about for yourself, like sustainably in terms of like mental health and also just your future. And so I think I like really go for the shininess of like, oh my God, this conversation is so fun. We're doing bits. We can like talk forever. Yes. But then there is kind of like a thing that's missing, like a seriousness that's missing. And so I'm working on that, about like being curious about people, even if maybe they're not like immediately the funniest person. I mean, I don't need you to be really funny, but I really do go for like,
I get that.
Yeah, I really go for like really easy to talk to over maybe like substance sometimes. And so,
yeah, because it looks the same as having a vibe with them. Of course you do. Yes. It's not like anything that's your fault. It's like, who doesn't love a good first experience? I wish you could start off on a third date. You know what I mean? Like and that's why I think online dating can be great if people are being honest. Then you're like past a certain point. But I'll share a story with you. I hate the idea of like advice or whatever, but I'll share a story with you because I dated around a lot, just like superficially and stuff. And I think in a lot of cases, I was the one that's superficial, because not meaning to be, because like I was so busy, or I would be like, okay, this date is going to be like 1 hour because I got shit to do. Yeah. And I just want that feeling. But when I a few months before my husband, I said to myself, okay, I'm actually going to have to be vulnerable myself. And I'm sure you're further along if you know, got a therapist and you value these things, because I don't think I did or couldn't name them until after. But the thing I said the New Year's Eve before I met my husband was just like, I'm going to fall in love this year. I know it sounds creepy, but I'm like, I don't care if it's like to get married or have kids. I just want the human experience of like falling in love.
Yeah, totally.
And in order to do that, I will have to be vulnerable, but I will also have to like not judge people so much. Like if there's a little awkwardness, or like if I think there's more there to the person that I'm interested in, I'm going to give it more chances. Whereas in the past I was like, oh, that was a mess, when it was totally fine. And I could have just worked, you know, through a little bit of awkward, because like any conversation that matters, like at work or whatever, you don't just like get up and leave if like, oh, they said something weird or that triggered me. You can like work through it, not like in the sense of like, oh, being desperate and it's like, oh, I'm going to date this guy for 3 years. Yeah. But even that openness to not like shut it off so fast while still respecting your instincts.
Yeah,
you know?
totally.
Anyways.
Yeah. Actually, this is a great segue into, I had a session this week with my therapist, and I was talking through kind of this growth I've had in the last like really a month and a half, and that actually is part of it. So this all started because I went to Japan and I had really bad jet lag. And so I came back, and I've talked about this jet lag on the podcast already, but I came back like fully so tired that I couldn't care about things in the same way. Like, and by care, I mean, like, I tend to overthink me. Like I tend to overthink how I'm being perceived, or if people like me. I'm like such a people pleaser. And what happened with jet lag is I couldn't think about it because I just had to like do the show and like I didn't care as much about like, oh my God, am I being really funny, or will that thing I say be funny, and then I stop talking. And so I was just kind of like going through everything. But I would say the same about my personal life. I was just like doing stuff without overthinking anything, and like weirdly that was working out for me. Like I was getting more laughs on stage, I was like doing better like in my social interactions. So then I was like, okay, maybe this is something where if the less I overthink, the more authentically I am, and the less I care about how people think about me, the better things actually go for me, because I'm just like being myself. And that has kind of spiraled in the last like month and a half, where I've gotten to the point where like I can go into social interactions and be okay with failing in them, and then not see that as like me failing as a person. And then in the process, I've learned that I can have a genuine curiosity towards a person. And if it doesn't go well, if there's an awkward silence or whatever, it's not like, I don't like spiral in the same way I used to. I'm just like, oh, that's just part of it. There's two of us here in a conversation. We're trying to get to know each other. And if there's like something awkward, that's fine. And then we just like move on.
That's not on you.
Exactly. And if I don't want to have a conversation with that person ever again, I'm not even talking dating context, I'm like in any context, I can just like move on with my life, and that's okay. I tried. I don't know, something's flipped in the last like 2 weeks where I've really felt like so much better about myself, and I'm like more confident in my abilities socially. That has given me confidence, and weirdly the confidence comes from not caring about like how people are perceiving me, or how like every interaction goes. Because I used to think that one failure of an interaction was a reflection of me failing. So yeah, I don't know. I'm ending the year on like a weirdly good note, which rarely happens. But it all started with jet lag.
Well, and Jenny, even the fact that like you are having so many interactions with people to even assess is a great sign. Like there's so many people who avoid interaction at all because they feel like that. And then they don't get practice interacting. They don't get better at it or get to learn from it. You're like out there. That's like 80% of it.
Okay, thank you, Julie.
That's amazing.
Literally, that's like very, very nice. I talked so long. I'm so sorry I took up so much time. But let me just say, 2023, what I want to write more. I want to like be really like, I just want to like do more comedy stuff that I really like. That's my own. And I similar to you, Julie, not to be creepy, I would like to find love. I would like to feel love with the person in a romantic way. You're saying
it out loud. You're saying it out loud.
In the most public way possible.
Now you're going to get a lot of DMs after this. But like, that's what you got to do. You have to decide to do it. There's so many people, especially women, I find, I see a lot of this in my girlfriends, where it's like, okay, you don't know if you're going to find love. You don't know if you want, if you're ever going to be able to have, get married and have kids. If you don't want to, totally okay. But there are people who want those things and don't say them out loud because they're like, oh, I don't want to sound desperate, which is like this old toxic way of being, like, or like, oh, I'm just looking for something casual. If you want a serious relationship, you want to get married, you want to have kids, it's okay to say that stuff, even though there's like 10% of toxic guys out there that you don't even want anyways, who would think that was creepy. Do you know what I mean?
Oh,
and it doesn't do anything for you. It doesn't serve you to say, oh yeah, like whatever. Like if you want it, the best way to make it happen is to like say it. You don't have to say it out loud every day because that maybe sounds creepy, but to know it and know like what lens you're using in the world is very powerful, I think.
Oh yeah, 100%. I think I used to think of it as vulnerable because if you don't get the thing that you asked for, that's embarrassing. But I'm like, whatever. If I find it, that would be great. Whatever. But also, I'm not gonna like fall apart because of it. Oh, my third thing is I want my wardrobe to be fire like Mike's. I want to like look so good this year from like an aesthetic point of view. They're like, everyone's just like, whoa, she really stepped up her outfit game. That's what I want. And yeah, Mike, don't take credit for this, but it is kind of being around you all the time. Okay, that's me. That was my year in review. Thank you. Who wants to go next?
I guess I should go next. First of all, you're welcome, Jenny, for all of the things. Getting you on the podcast, showing you what
this
fire
is all
looks.
Thanks to Mike. Yeah.
Healthy relationship with my wife. You just want to be me. I get it. You want to step up and maybe shave your head. Have you thought about that?
I'm gonna start doing Brazilian jiu-jitsu next year.
You think about ever doing it? It's the best.
No. I just want to wear a gi.
Brazilian waxes.
You said you wanted to find love, so yeah.
They should love you and your bush. Sorry.
Thank you.
I think that's cool. Yeah, this was. I mean, come on, it was like a crazy year.
You had a big year.
I had a huge year, obviously. My birth of my son. I don't really. It's hard to put that as something where I'm like, it's not like an achievement or something because it's not like an object. It's not like I got this thing. It completely changed my life, and like kind of like a big meteor. It makes you really think everything. It's kind of the, what you were saying before with not caring. It for this, I care a lot, and because I care about my family so much, it really made me think, what else do I care about? What, do I care about all these other things? I went through, definitely like a weird time because I have to do less stand up because I have to focus on him. And it made me think, because I had that kind of grind set mentality, just like go out and do as much shows as you can, do all these things, try to grow as a performer and grow your base and all these things. And it made me recalibrate all those decisions because if I have certain priorities, are they competing with each other? Obviously, I'm not saying that you can't be a comedian and have a family, but it makes you really, organize your life and ask yourself hard questions about what you want. But it also made me think about, why do I care about certain things? Why do I care about certain people's opinions? Are those opinions important? Whose opinion is important? Why do I care about what people think? I know it's kind of weird because I'm old as shit and I still really worry about what other people think. Just to go back to kind of like achievements, I guess, of 2022. I mean, I had a lot of cool stuff happen in comedy, right? So if you listen very closely, you can hear my voice bring up Ronnie during his Netflix special this year. I opened for him at the Beacon. I mean, Julie was there, which was fucking crazy. I mean, to say
he
that
got to meet Julie Kim. Sorry,
I got to meet Julie Kim. We took a selfie. That was
so
nuts.
Lucky. Yeah.
So
did we?
It was a crazy. It was awesome for that, and then obviously we had the transition with the podcast. And I have to say too, very quickly, that I feel a lot of times people don't realize how good something is because they're so focused on the I guess the things they want. but I've come to realize that with you, Jenny, you come on and I think you're crushing it, and I'm so glad that you're having fun, and,
that's
and we're
nice.
working together next year, which is great. And I realized that it could have easily been where either I didn't bring you on, I picked someone else, or you came on and it didn't work out for whatever reason. Maybe you didn't like doing it. Maybe the schedule didn't work out, because it's a lot of work, as you know. You have to be there every single week. And I realized that easily you could easily have not come on, and then we would have to. I don't know what I would do then. I don't know who else I would pick, because I'm basically asking someone to be available over and over and over again, because that's the thing with like podcasts is like every single week or X amount of times a month you have to be there, and it's really hard to do. Anyone who's ever had to put together a band or have had to try to start a company or something like that, just people showing up at all is like 80% of the fight, right? And once you do, then you can kind of work things out. But first, people have to show up, and that's like a huge thing. So I think this year was, huge as far as those kind of milestones, like having a son and kind of rethinking things. But I think too, and I'm going to echo what you said about not caring. At some point, I think very recently, I think it was because of Young Me, saying what you want into the world, right, Julie, is what you say, like what your desires are, but then also being kind of okay with how embarrassing it is. That's like that's I think the big twist is I've always cared about what other comedians think, and I still do, and maybe they think I'm bad, and here's the thing, that's okay. That's okay. I'm bad. That's fine. Just, I'm still...
You're not bad.
I know, but,
I'm just saying.
Yeah, but it's like, I have to just be like, it doesn't matter what they think. It doesn't matter, right? We were talking about this before that we did the show. It almost kind of doesn't matter. Any given show doesn't really matter, right? If you do good or you don't do good, it really doesn't matter. Even if you get something really amazing. I mean, like when I got the Beacon, when I got to open for the Beacon, I knew that was awesome. That was a real special treat for me, but it's not going to change my life. I don't know what would change my life, but I know that wouldn't. And so if those things, if even achieving the things you really want isn't going to change your life, well, you have to approach your goals differently. You have to know that you're going and doing comedy or you're going after your dreams, for some other reason. Because I think that getting things, I'm trying not to orient myself around like, this is like, I achieved this goal, rather than I'm just trying to stay in the game and enjoy what I do and get better at what I do. And I think that's like a pretty big thing for 2022 and moving into 2023. I think it's all about, this is very cheesy, I'm sorry, but community is really important. I think that's really important. I think obviously our community, Asian American comedy community, but also like our fans. I want to get more fan voicemails on here. I want people to just come hang out at our shows and DM us like not weird things, but DM us cool things. And I just want, I think that's really important. And again, going back to my son, I think that's really, it made me realize that to raise my son will take a whole community, because I just need to have people I can rely on, and not just like buddies. I need people who are like, it's 2 a.m. and something really crazy has happened and I really need some help. Those people are really going to be the ones who are going to come through for you. And I think that's what you really need to have, especially in a place like New York City and especially in this kind of business. You know, I think that's really important. So that's what I want for the coming up. Who gives a fuck? That's what I'm trying to do. Who gives a fuck?
I love that. I think that it's very easy when you're in this like world to see just goals. And like once I achieve that next thing, I will feel fulfilled or satisfied. And I think what I've realized that it's like when I felt most satisfied this year, I mean, sure, like doing stuff makes me feel good, but it's also just like the fact that I went to dinner with a bunch of people that I like, that I met through comedy. Like, and they're like, we're just like friends, and like I know who they are and things like that. And I'm like, yeah, it's feeling like belongingness and like feeling like you're part of something almost is like more important at the end of the day at times than like the fact that I did a show at this theater or, you know, whatever. So I think you have like having a good balance. And I also think that because I went through this arc where I often was like, why am I even doing comedy this year? And then I would leave it for a little bit and come back and be like, because it's fun and I like it.
Yeah, it is fun.
And it's like nice to remember that part of it. That like we're doing this not because we have to, it's because we want to.
Right.
So I think that's great.
Julie, I see you taking furious notes.
I saw Julie writing notes.
I was scoring your answers.
Okay. Grading us.
And I'll share them with you after. No, I always like to structure my thoughts because there's always like, a few different things that happened this year. And I got ideas from you about like goals and stuff. You want me to go?
Yeah.
Yes.
You have a couple hours? Okay.
Please.
A review of my year. I mean, it was a big year. One of the main things stand-up wise that I did was finish the tour with Ronnie. So his Hope You Get Rich tour.
Amazing.
So I opened for him on at least 40 theater shows across the US and Canada, including 2 at the Beacon where I got to meet Mike, and that changed my life completely.
You're welcome.
So that was obviously a big highlight, and I count this year as a really great year in terms of my comedy and, working out my jokes so much, having a stronger presence on the stage, which you can't help but do if you're on 40 theater shows. But my comedy definitely has gotten a lot better, stronger, my confidence in my voice, etc. I've really tried to continue that. So even though the tour ended in April, I've been trying to keep the momentum going, and I'm really glad to be at this kind of really busy but also kind of awkward stage where I'm like now doing my own shows at these great venues. Like, the Irvine Improv. In March, I'm going to be doing a night at the Punchline in San Francisco. So like my own shows, which is great. Yeah. So I'm starting to really get my own audience, which has been very touching for me. Like I feel like I've got a voice that resonates with people. I've got some good jokes, and I just want to kind of keep that going. But yeah, it's also a lot of work at this phase because I'm not like this huge deal, and I don't have like a team of people doing it for me. So I feel like I either do it myself or I let it die off, which I am too stubborn to do. But I've really enjoyed from the point of view of community, which you've both mentioned. That's really been a part that I've enjoyed, like even being part of, Ronnie and his inner circle and seeing the whole, the tour go down and seeing how he and Hannah, his executive producer, make it all happen, has been a giant learning experience. But, I've met other amazing people like Irene too, Atsuko I worked with as well, and a lot of other very strong Asian stand-up comedians in the US that I'm, not often able to meet because I'm up here in Canada. So I'm going back and forth a little bit more and really feeling so excited about the talent that's out there and really feeling like instantly a sense of belonging and me supporting these people also because I want us to all do well. It's a really neat thing that I have experienced in the last year and the year before. Because for me, starting off in comedy like 12 years ago in Toronto and then Vancouver has been a little isolating. Like, it's hard to be a female in comedy. Like you can't argue that. It's hard to be an Asian person in comedy if you look at most of the comedy clubs out there, right? You look at their month ahead, their headliners are not people who, look or sound like me. It is what it is. But it's been really nice to be part of like this community where, you just support them, they support you. We hope you do well. So that's been really nice. So that's stand up. I've become concertedly more of a writer. So I decided a few years ago that I wanted to write for TV and movies. So I've written on a few more TV shows, which in Canada, which I'm really glad about.
Awesome. So
Simu Liu, Shang-Chi himself asked me to write for him as he hosted the Juno Awards, which are Canada's music awards. And that was really neat. And then his monologue, which I worked with him directly on and wrote for, it went viral. Like, it was really good. And the producers said it was the best event they've had. And they, it's like awards they've had every year since 1971. So it's been really nice. And I got to moderate Simu's book event actually here in Vancouver, which is a lot of fun too. And then also this year, I feel, this relates to being Asian. I restarted martial arts, which I did, I started in high school. Yeah, I know.
It's only a matter of time, Jenny. Come join us. Join us.
I was a swimmer.
So previously I did a mix of karate and kung fu. I did get my black belt, but then I stopped for a long time. And then this year was the year that I started Muay Thai and boxing, and love it so much. It's my favorite thing to do. It's my favorite kind of exercise. I could go on forever, and just until like I faint. And it's been really good for my health, but also like, I think every woman should do it, honestly. Like, I want my daughter to do martial
Jenny,
arts.
honestly, I think you would really like it. Boxing, especially.
I'm not against it.
I think it'd be
maybe
cool.
not.
You should try it.
Maybe not BJJ, but yeah, I'll do something else.
Fine. Okay.
Well, it's just like a really neat thing to do that also has a purpose, if you have any guilt about your time. But also I like feeling powerful, honestly. Like, I really think my early days, like because I started in high school, of being in martial arts gave me a lot of confidence in myself that went into a lot of other areas in my life. So I feel very powerful right now. I also ate pretty good this year. I think the pandemic made me a better cook, as it did to a lot of people, and more conscious of what I put in my body now that I can see what's in my food. So I feel good about how well I've eaten and how well I've fed my family. I'm going to say this like eye rolling, because it's like I've taken after my mom and dad by being like, obsessed with food and caring about what my family eats. Then the part of me that's a feminist rolls her eyes, because I'm like, oh, why should I be doing all of this? It's fine. But that's that's why I'll say something excitedly, but then very quickly roll my eyes. I'll get a therapist. I'll get a therapist too.
We're all
Don't
cringe.
worry.
It's okay. Yeah.
Yeah, we're all cringe.
We're all cringe. Just go with it.
I did comedy in Hawaii for the first time, and my family came on a trip to Hawaii, which was fun. And then what else? I mean, I feel like I've calmed down like a little bit. I feel like in early pandemic, I started to get very angry at things I saw in the news. I've always been angry from a feminist perspective. I started to get dangerously angry from the perspective of being Asian and seeing the hate out there and the violence and stuff, which, I mean, a lot of it came from the US, but of course in Canada's just like a lot more microaggressions. But I started down this path that was a little toxic at least in my head, being like a little bit like us and them. And I think it's a mental shortcut of like seeing a dude in a pickup truck and a leather coat or like a Harley and being like, ugh, you know what I mean? Yeah. But not just because of the horrible fashion choices, but because like, clearly that's not my people. He's probably racist. I'm going to stay away, which is a horrible way to be in the world. And it's not something I want to teach my daughter how to be. It's just faster and it's safer to think like that. As a comedian, I've done it too. I was offered a gig at this like golf resort at this kind of like way out there suburban area. And I was like, ugh, I hate corporates. I hate this. If they're going to ask me to come out there, I'm going to like quote this nutty amount. And then they said yes. And then the guy actually said, I showed your video to all the ladies in the office and they loved it. You were their favorite. And then I was like, oh, right. I should not be assuming. Right. Like I can't do the racism thing on this end. I shouldn't be assuming that those guys won't like me or my comedy just because they don't look like me. Yeah. I am projecting a bias onto them. So I've been trying to do that less.
Yeah.
I think that's great. I think it's also very easy in this world now with like internet stuff too, where people just immediately like judge everyone based on this much. And I think we all do that. So I also am trying to be better about that, where it's like, I'm not going to be a hater. I'm just going to like remember that everyone's a whole person.
Yeah. And it's not great to remember that, like, when you see something hateful online, whether it's a video of somebody or like this disgusting tweet, that it is probably less than 10% of the world out there. That then I take the outrage I feel about what 10% of the world has said or done, and then I will apply that to almost everybody that looks like them, which is ignorant too. I mean, who's got the time to process all of this? So not a lot of us. So I think just generally trying to be open and giving people the benefit of the doubt and not starting off or not building biases while we're already adults is something I'd like to work on.
Absolutely. I think that's all great. I mean, you sound like you had an incredible year, like especially professionally. You did a lot.
I did a lot. Thank you. It also comes with pressure to continue to do a lot.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to be like, oh, that was a nice year back there.
I know.
So I'm feeling that, but I'm also feeling excited. If there's anything I've learned in the last year and like all the stuff that happened is like, it's a little bit of luck, but a lot of it is also like, really putting the work in, to preparing. I did JFL Montreal also last year and this year. Thank you. But like I've really learned that the only times I'm really good at what I do is when I like really put the time and the effort and the focus. Like I'm never good at stand up by accident if I do a really important set. So I've become a little bit more disciplined. Like when I prepped for JFL Montreal, it was the hardest I had ever worked at deliberately tweaking a set over the course of 6 weeks. Yeah. And it, some days you don't want to listen to yesterday's recording or go into the minute details, but I did it. It was really satisfying. I'm such a nerd. It was very satisfying. As I say that with braces and spit on my laptop. But it was a good year. I'm also trying to be like more of a thoughtful parent to my daughter, who's now 5 or 6, and really notices, really wants that quality time, and we have a lot of fun together. And sometimes I get really wrapped up in my head or want to be like working on stuff. So I'm trying to be like more thoughtful with her because she's, a sensitive person and she can really feel when you want to be there or not. And sometimes I'm like sarcastic and stuff. I've been so obsessed with this idea of not letting marriage and parenting change me because I feel like, that would be such a failure. But as a result, I am sarcastic to a small child who doesn't know what that is. One time 2 years ago, she goes, "Mommy, sometimes your jokes are too hard and it hurts my feelings." Oh, I know. So I got to find a way to do that. It's like, it's a chip on my shoulder that I've had, which is like, comes from a good place, but then doesn't execute well. So it's all trial and error. I'm doing my best or whatever's convenient. Yeah.
We're all doing our best. Doing our best. I think this is a lot of fun. I want to hear what people have to say about their year that's coming. We want to hear from you. Drop us a voicemail. The number for that is 646-809-7231. 646-809-7231. And you can leave us a voicemail. Let us know how your 2022 was. What cringy goals you have. It's all good. This is the cringe podcast. Just say it. Say it out into the voicemail.
But to accept that your cringe is to be free.
Oh,
just be cringe.
Whoa,
and you'll
there,
be free.
Confucius.
Jenny, that's your merch.
I grew a huge beard right now.
To accept that you are cringe is to be free. That's like Gen Z Confucius right there, man. That's amazing.
You should make fortune cookies with that inside.
I would love that. Let's
great.
do it.
Well, I think this was really cool. Jenny, is there any kind of final thoughts you have?
No, thank you for doing this exercise with me. Thank you for engaging with me on this subject. I freaking love this stuff. I love reflecting and growing.
You love reflecting.
I do. I love reflecting. Mike is probably sick of reflecting with me.
I like it a lot too. And I really do think it's been really cool to see you come on and see what is happening and where we will go. And I need this as far as, because I get into my head just like any one of us, right? So it's good to have this mindset right? Because I think I can get negative. So, Julie, I want you're gonna go. You're gonna be going on tour. Where can our fans find you and your work, and where can they see you?
Oh, sure. Well, I'm on Instagram, less on TikTok, but I'm everywhere as @JulieKimComedy. You can see me physically in New York City if you're there. Is it time to talk about that? Yeah?
Yes.
Yeah.
January 22nd, which is also Lunar New Year. It's a Sunday. I'm doing a show at Stand Up New York, my own show. Karen Chi, who you know, will be on the show. Mm-hmm. I was going to ask Mike if he wanted to host.
Sure.
Okay, so Mike is hosting. And Jenny, I hope we're not doing improv, but I hope you can come too. And we could do more reflecting in person if you want, or just eat, like whatever.
Yeah. I'll be there. I'll go.
Thank you. It's my first solo show in New York, and I'm really hoping that people will come out. For sure, it'll be a good time. I wasn't sure if Sunday of the Lunar New Year celebrations would be a good time to do a show, but it could be good, right? Like stuff your faces, come out to a show, or come out to the show and then go stuff your faces. There will be an all Asian lineup anyway, so it's like we're celebrating. Mike will be dressed well, like so much good stuff. But yeah, I'll be doing shows kind of everywhere. January 12th, I'm in Brea. I'm doing this the next week. I have shows coming up in San Francisco and San Jose in March, and a bunch in between. It's all on my website, juliekimcomedy.com.
Amazing.
Perfect.
Definitely go check out Julie and have a great time. She's super funny. So, Jenny, where can our fans find you?
You can find me anywhere at Jenny Arimoto.
And you can always find the podcast at Asian Not Asian Pod. We've been putting a lot of our clips up there, and people are really enjoying them. So go check it out over there. And you can find me on Instagram at NicePantsBro. Again, we've got our own stand-up show, Hack City. That's going to be January 13th. That's a Friday. It's Union Hall. And please come out and hang out. And, it's all about community. So we'd love to hear from you. We love to, leave a review. We haven't asked you to do that in a while, but please leave a review. We love reading them. Even the ones where people are just like, I'm like, okay, I'll take that.
No, Mike, no. This is where we differ.
Oh.
I don't like reading those. Don't review us if it's gonna be Only do it if it's gonna be good. Yeah, don't bother.
Yeah, don't bother. Okay, well, in the meantime, everybody have a great holiday. Have a great New Year. We'll see you guys season 3, and it's gonna be amazing.
Happy holidays. Bye.